Hello everyone, I am Assistant Professor Milan Patel from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center Navsari. Today we will discuss chapter number 1, Induction Machines, from the subject Electrical Machines 2, having a subject code of 3150910 of the semester 5th BE Electrical Engineering Department. Hello everyone. Today we will discuss different torque equations of the three-phase induction motor. So let's start with the rotor output. Rotor output available at the rotor shaft. So if Tg is in Newton meter, the gross torque developed and N is the RPM and N RPM is the speed of the rotor. Now from this gross rotor output will be 2 pi nt G divided by 60 watts. We know the equation of rotor output 2 pi nt G divided by 60 watts. If there were no copper losses in the rotor, the output would equal to rotor input and the rotor would run at the synchronous speed ns. If there is no copper loss in the rotor, then the output would equal to the rotor input. So rotor would run at the synchronous speed. But we know that in three-phase induction machine, copper loss is there. That's why the motor will not run at the synchronous speed, but it is always run below the synchronous speed. Now rotor input is equal to 2 pi ns 2 pi ns into Tg divided by 60 watt. So the difference between these two equation is nothing but this is the rotor output and it is at the actual speed n, and this is the rotor input at the synchronous speed ns. So this is the simple difference between these two equations. So rotor copper loss equal to rotor input minus rotor output. Simple equation. Rotor input minus rotor output will be the value of the rotor copper loss. So simply we can find the rotor copper loss by this equation, rotor input minus rotor output. We have rotor output and rotor input equation. So simply put the value of these two equation in this equation. So we will get 2 pi Tg divided by 60 common out from these two equation in bracket ns minus n. Ns minus n. So from this equation we can simply say that rotor copper loss divided by rotor input is equal to rotor copper loss divided by rotor input is equal to ns minus n divided by ns. Ns minus n divided by ns. We have to take ratio of these two equation. Rotor copper loss 2 pi Tg divided by 60 into ns minus n to the rotor input 2 pi nt ns Tg. So divided by 60. So this will be ns minus n divided by ns, and we know that this is the value of slip. So simple we can say that the rotor copper loss is equal to slip into rotor input. Okay, get it? So rotor copper loss is equal to S into rotor input. And now second equation is the gross rotor output. Pm is equal to rotor input minus rotor copper loss. Rotor input minus rotor copper loss is given by S into rotor input. So rotor input will be common out from this equation. So our equation for the gross power output of the rotor Pm is equal to rotor input into 1 minus S. Now third one is the gross rotor output to the rotor input. Gross rotor output to the rotor input. So we know the value of gross rotor output is equal to rotor input into 1 minus S. So simply rotor input will be cancelled out, and the value of this ratio is 1 minus s, and its value of actual speed divided by synchronous speed ns. Now last one is the rotor copper loss divided by the cross rotor output. So it is the given by s divided by 1 minus s. Simple, put the value of rotor copper loss from this equation and gross rotor output from this equation. So this is the s divided by 1 minus s. Now next one is the torque equation. Torque equation. So the gross torque Tg developed by an induction motor is given by simply Tg is equal to rotor input divided by 2 pi ns. Tg is simply given by rotor input divided by 2 pi ns, and this ns speed in rpm. In rpm, here this is wrong, ns is in rpm. Now next equation is the 60 multiplied by rotor input divided by 2 pi ns. So this is the speed in rps. This is the speed in rps. That's why we have to divide this ns by 60 second. 60 second. So above equation for the rpm and lower one is the for rps, rpm and rps. So now rotor input is equal to, we actually see that equation in previous slide. Rotor input is simply given by rotor copper loss divided by s. Rotor copper loss divided by s. Now rotor copper loss is given by 3 I2 dash square into R2 divided by S. Rotor copper loss is equal to 3 I2 dash whole square into R2. Simple. I square R loss. This 3 for 3 phase. This 3 multiply because of the 3 phase. So this is the simple equation for the rotor input. So rotor input. So now in running condition, we know the equation of I2 dash. I2 dash is the current flowing through the rotor. I2 dash is the current flowing through the rotor, and in running condition it is simply given by SE2 divided by under root R2 square plus SX2 whole square. So this is SE2 is the actual EMF induced in the rotor circuit, and this is the impedance in the running condition. So now this is the equation in form of E2. Now we know the value of E2 is given by KE1. So simply this equation will be become as KE1 divided by R2 square under root R2 square plus SX2 whole square, where K is the transformation ratio. So number of turns of the rotor per phase divided by number of turns per phase of the stator. So now rotor input, put this value of I2 dash in the rotor input equation. So it will become 3 as it is I2 dash square. So it will become S square K S square E2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus SX2 whole square divided by 1 upon S. Now this is S square and this is S, so 1S will be cancelled out, and our final equation with respect to E2 will be 3S E2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus SX2 square. Okay. Also in terms of E1, this is in terms of E2. Simple, put the value of E2 is equal to KE1 in this equation. We will get answer in form of E1. So this equation will become 3S K square E1 square R2 divided by R2 square plus SX2 whole square. This is simple equation of the rotor input. So now Tg is equal to rotor input divided by 2 pi ns. Simply put the value of this into this. So 3 divided by 2 pi ns as E2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus SX2 whole square. So this is in terms of E2, this equation of Tg in terms of E2, and 3 divided by 2 pi ns multiplied by s k square e1 square r2 divided by r2 square plus sx2 whole square. This is the equation in terms of e1. So now next topic is the rotor torque. Rotor torque. From above equation, we can simply see that the torque T developed by the rotor is directly proportional to the rotor current, rotor EMF, and the power factor of the rotor circuit, because we know that torque is directly proportional to the E2 I2 cos phi 2, where E2, as it is I2, means the value of I2 is given by simply E2 divided by Z2, and Z2 is equal to under root R2 square plus X2 square, and cos phi 2 is given by R2 by Z2. So it is the simple value of the this equation is same as our above equation. Okay, so simply we can say that for this equation 1 E2 as it is from this E2 square, so it is rotor EMF, and 1 E2 divided by under root of R2 square plus Sx2 square means it will be I2, and R2 divided by under root R2 square plus Sx2 whole square is equal to Z2. So simple equation is that T is directly proportional to the E2 I2 cos phi 2. So or T is equal to K E2 I2 cos phi 2, where K is the proportionality constant and I2 is equal to rotor current at the standstill, E2 is the rotor EMF at the standstill, and cos phi 2 is the rotor power factor at the standstill. So now this is the simple rotor torque equation. Now starting torque Ts. So let's E2 is equal to rotor EMF per phase at the standstill, X2 is the rotor reactance per phase at the standstill, and R2 is the rotor resistance per phase. And rotor resistance per phase R2 is constant term. It will never change with the change in speed, and these two quantities E2 and X2 will change with respect to speed. So this E2 will become SE2 and this X2 will become SE2, where S is the slip. So now rotor impedance per phase Z2 is simple given by under root R2 square plus X2 square, resistance rotor resistance square plus rotor reactance square at the standstill condition. So from this equation we can say that the rotor current per phase I2 is equal to E2 divided by Z2. E2 divided by Z2, and the value of Z2 is equal to R2 square plus under root R2 square plus X2 square, and the rotor power factor cos phi 2 is given by R2 divided by Z2. So our final equation for the rotor power factor is equal to R2 divided by R under root R2 square plus X2 square. Now the starting torque Ts is equal to K E2 I2 cos phi 2. So put these all three values in this equation. So our equation will become K E2 as it is. I2 is given by E2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square multiplied by Z cos phi 2 is equal to R2 by under root R2 square plus X2 square. Simple. This is the E2 by Z2. This is the R2 by Z2. So our final equation for the starting torque is given by K E2 square into R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square. So this is the simple starting torque equation of the three-phase induction. Now condition for the maximum starting torque. So it can be proved that starting torque will be maximum when the rotor resistance per phase is equal to the standstill rotor reactance per phase. Simple. Maximum starting torque will be available at the rotor resistance is equal to rotor reactance per phase at the standstill condition. So simply we have to prove this for the particular three-phase induction machine starting torque. Now we know the value of starting torque. Es is given by Ts is given by K1 R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square, where the value of K1 is equal to these constant terms 3 divided by 2 pi ns into E2 square. 3 divided by 2 pi ns into E2 square is the value of K1. These are all the constant terms. That's why we have to consider Ts is equal to K1 R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square. Now we have to differentiate equation of the Ts with respect to R2 and we have to compare it with 0. So simple, dTs by dr2 is equal to 0. We have to consider dTs by dr2 is equal to 0 for getting the maximum starting torque condition. So the derivation for this right hand side term will be K1 constant as it is 1 upon R2 square plus X2 square, means we have to take reference of 1 upon R2 square plus X2 square as it is, and the derivation of R2 will become R1. 1 upon R2 square plus X2 square is constant term, consider first time, and we have to differentiate this R2 with respect to R2, so it will give us value 1 plus now this R2 will be constant, and we have to differentiate this term in denominator R2 square plus X2 square. So simple, it is given by R2 square plus X2 square raised to minus 2, so it will R2 square plus X2 square whole square. Again this term have R2 square plus X2 square, that's why we have to differentiate this term in the numerator, so it will give us the 2R2, and this minus term is for R2 square plus X2 square raised to minus 1, that's why this is the minus 1 is equal to 0. So by solving this equation we will get R2 square plus X2 square is equal to 2R2 square, and from this equation we can get the value or maximum condition for maximum starting torque condition. R2 is equal to X2. So simply we can say that when the rotor resistance per phase is equal to the standstill rotor reactance per phase, rotor resistance per phase is equal to standstill rotor reactance per phase, then we will get our maximum starting torque. Under the condition of maximum torque, phi2 is equal to 45 degree and the rotor power factor is 0.707 lagging. So at that power factor angle phi2 is equal to 45 degree or the power factor value 0.707 lagging, we will get our maximum starting. So this is the 0.707 lagging power factor at where we will get our maximum starting torque. So now this is the torque versus rotor resistance graph. So at zero rotor resistance, the starting torque is 0. By gradually increase the rotor resistance, the torque will also increase. Till the maximum starting torque point. This is the maximum starting torque point at where the value of R2 is equal to X2. So this is the point at where starting torque is maximum and the value of R2 is equal to X2. So here the value of R2 and value of X2 is same. That's why this power factor angle phi2 is equal to 45 degree, and the value of power factor is given by 0.707. So this is the condition for the maximum starting torque. And now last topic is effect of change of supply voltage. Effect of change of supply voltage. We know the equation of starting torque is given by K E2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square. But we know that the value of rotor induced EMF E2, rotor induced EMF E2 is directly proportional to the supply voltage, So we can simply put the value of E2 as V in this equation, and we will get the value Ts is equal to K2 V square R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square. Simple. K E2 square is replaced by K2 V square, because we know that the E2 and V2 is not equal to, but the K E2 square and K2 V square is the same. So simple. Es is equal to K2 V square R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square, where K2 is another constant. And from above equation, simple, we can say that Ts is directly proportional to the voltage square. Voltage square means applied voltage square. So by increasing the applied voltage, simply we will increase our starting torque. Therefore, the starting torque is very sensitive to the change in the value of supply voltage. For example, a drop of 10% in supply voltage will decrease the starting torque about by 20%. So this could mean the motor failing to start if it cannot produce the torque greater than the load torque plus friction torque. So this could mean the motor failing to start if it cannot produce a starting torque greater than the load torque plus the friction torque. I hope you understood today's topic, and this is the most IMP topic.